The apartment, usually a haven of quiet contemplation, thrummed with a different kind of energy tonight. Not the harmonious hum of their love, but a pervasive, almost agonizing static. Wang Yibo stood by the window, his back to Xiao Zhan, staring out at the city lights. The resonance harmonizer, his constant companion, lay on the table between them, its soft glow now replaced by a frantic, erratic flicker. His echo syndrome, usually a filtered current, was a tempest, amplifying the world's anxieties, fears, and a specific, chilling threat he had only recently perceived. Xiao Zhan, his empathy raw and exposed, felt the palpable wave of dread emanating from Yibo. "What is it, Yibo?" he asked, his voice soft, laced with a fear he rarely showed. "What's wrong?" Yibo turned, his face etched with a pain that pierced Zhan's soul. "It's the network," he murmured, his voice a low, guttural growl that vibrated through the floorboards. "The harmonized network. Our love. It connected everything. It opened too many doors." He gestured vaguely at the city, its lights now shimmering with a cold, almost predatory gleam through his eyes. "There are others. Beings. Drawn by the resonance. They want our power, Zhan. They want you." As Yibo spoke of the others, the air in the apartment didn't just grow cold, it solidified, turning into shimmering, translucent walls of pure, distilled dread. These walls pulsed with an inky blackness, their surfaces reflecting distorted, monstrous caricatures of unseen entities, their forms constantly shifting at the edges of perception. These weren't just Yibo's fears, they were the actual mind-blowing manifestations of the malevolent entities he now perceived, pressing in on their sanctuary, their hunger for Zhan's empathic power a palpable, chilling force. Zhan gasped, his empathy screaming with a sudden, overwhelming onslaught of pure malevolence. He saw the monstrous forms, felt their hunger, a cold, empty ache that threatened to consume him. "What do we do?" he whispered, his voice trembling. "I have to close the door," Yibo replied, his voice firm, resolute, though his hands trembled. He picked up the resonance harmonizer, its erratic flicker now a steady, ominous pulse. "The network. The global connection. It's too open. It's a beacon for them." He looked at Zhan, his eyes filled with a profound, aching love, a silent farewell. "I have to sever it. All of it." Zhan's blood ran cold. He understood. The harmonized network, the global emotional filter they had created, the new era of honesty and connection, all of it was a direct extension of Yibo's echo syndrome, amplified by their combined love. To sever it meant Yibo would have to cut himself off, not just from the network, but from the refined control of his own power. It meant a return to the chaotic, overwhelming cacophony of his childhood. It meant the ultimate, silent sacrifice. "No!" Zhan cried, his empathy screaming with the agony of what Yibo was proposing. "You can't. You can't go back to that. To the chaos." He remembered the unbearable sensory overload Yibo had lived with, the constant battle for clarity. It was a prison. "I have to," Yibo said, his voice now imbued with a profound, terrifying certainty. "To protect you. To protect us. They want your empathy, Zhan. They want to corrupt it, to turn it into a weapon. If I close the network, they can't find you. They can't follow." The final, mind-blowing scene erupted as Yibo raised the resonance harmonizer. It pulsed, its light intensifying, becoming a blinding, searing white that filled the entire apartment, driving back the encroaching manifestations of dread. He looked at Zhan one last time, his eyes conveying a universe of unspoken love, regret, and ultimate sacrifice. "Remember," he whispered, his voice resonating not with sound, but with pure telepathic force, etching the words directly into Zhan's soul, "Our love. It's still real. It's just quieter now." Then, with a grim determination, he plunged the harmonizer into his own chest. There was no sound, only a blinding, cataclysmic implosion of pure light. The apartment didn't just shake, it inverted. The walls, the floor, the ceiling, all rippled inwards, collapsing not into physical debris, but into a swirling vortex of shattered reality. The brilliant light consumed everything, and within its heart, Zhan saw Yibo's form, radiating a final, agonizing surge of power, his echo syndrome unleashed in a final, defiant act of protection. The immense light pulled at Zhan, threatening to unravel his very being. When the light faded, the apartment was pristine, silent, utterly normal. The walls were solid, the furniture untouched. The air was clear, clean. But Yibo stood by the window, his back to Zhan, rigid. Zhan's empathy, which had been screaming with the agony of the implosion, was now utterly, chillingly silent. He could feel nothing from Yibo. No warmth, no emotion, no familiar echo. It was as if Yibo's soul had been severed, leaving behind a hollow, empty shell. The resonance harmonizer lay on the table, intact, but its light was gone, its hum silent. It was a beautiful, mind-blowing, and utterly devastating sacrifice. Zhan stumbled forward, his heart cold with a terror he had never known. He reached out, touching Yibo's shoulder. He felt nothing. No life, no warmth, no love. Just a profound, chilling emptiness. Yibo slowly turned. His eyes, once vibrant and expressive, were now flat, devoid of the familiar spark. His face was a mask of perfect, serene neutrality, utterly unreadable. His echo syndrome, the source of his boundless power, was gone. The overwhelming sensory world had returned to its mundane chaos, but Yibo no longer perceived it. He had sacrificed his very essence, his connection to the emotional world, to protect Zhan. He had become a ghost in his own reality, a silent, beautiful, devastating monument to a love that had demanded the ultimate price. "Yibo," Zhan whispered, his voice breaking, tears streaming down his face. He felt the cold, hard truth of it all. The network was closed. The entities were banished. Zhan was safe. But the vibrant, emotionally boundless man he loved was gone, replaced by a perfect, empty shell. Wang Yibo's silent sacrifice had saved him, but at a cost that had shattered their universe. The protection was absolute, the love undeniable, but the silence, the profound, agonizing silence from the man who had once felt everything, was the most mind-blowing pain of all. The apartment, once a sanctuary filled with the familiar hum of their combined energy, was now a tomb of silence. Wang Yibo stood by the window, his back to Xiao Zhan, a perfect, empty statue. The resonance harmonizer lay on the table, its light gone, its hum a cold, agonizing memory. Yibo's silent sacrifice had protected Zhan, but it had come at a cost that had shattered their universe. Zhan, his heart a raw, bleeding wound, staggered through the stillness. His own empathy, now unshielded by Yibo's control, was a torrent of unfiltered emotions from the world outside. The city's cacophony of anxieties, the quiet despair of a stranger on the street below, the fleeting joy of a child, all of it crashed against him in a terrifying, relentless wave. He was safe from the external entities, but he was a prisoner of his own empathy. The silence from Yibo was the most unbearable part, a void that screamed louder than any noise. He would rather have the chaos back than this profound, agonizing emptiness. In a moment of pure, desperate grief, Zhan stumbled towards Yibo. He knew, with a chilling certainty, that his words were useless. They would fall into the void, unanswered. So he spoke with the language of his soul. He closed his eyes and channeled his love, not as an abstract feeling, but as a visceral, concentrated memory. Their first kiss, a moment of profound, world-altering love under a starlit sky. He poured every ounce of his being into the memory, reliving it in vivid detail. As he did, a single, mind-blowing phenomenon occurred. A luminous, ethereal echo of that kiss shimmered into existence, a silent, glowing projection that pulsed with the light of their shared love. The shimmering echo floated towards Yibo, gently touching his cheek. For a fleeting, agonizing second, Yibo's perfect stillness seemed to waver. A muscle in his jaw twitched, a minuscule, almost imperceptible sign of life. Zhan gasped, his heart leaping with a desperate new hope. The sacrifice had not been total. A sliver of their connection remained. This small, mind-blowing victory became Zhan's new purpose. He realized he couldn't simply wait for Yibo to return. He had to rebuild him, piece by piece. He began a new, terrifying, and profoundly beautiful ritual. He would spend hours a day, channeling his empathy and love, creating more echoes of their shared moments. Not just kisses, but the echoes of a shared laugh, the projection of a quiet conversation, the shimmering form of a handhold. He was weaving their love back into existence, creating a new, invisible network between them. As he did this, he saw a mind-blowing, cosmic tapestry forming around Yibo, a shimmering, intricate web of golden threads that represented every loving act, every shared memory, every word of affection they'd ever exchanged. The web grew, thread by painful, beautiful thread, a living testament to Zhan's unwavering devotion. The silence from Yibo persisted, but now he was surrounded by a profound, shimmering warmth that only Zhan could see. The apartment was no longer a tomb, it was a sanctuary of love, a workshop where a new soul was being forged. ### the tear of light. After days that blurred into weeks, Zhan's efforts reached a critical mass. He was standing before Yibo, the cosmic tapestry of their love, a brilliant, pulsating web of light that enveloped the silent man. He had woven every memory, every feeling, every hope they had ever shared. He had given every last ounce of his being. He had nothing left to give but his heart. He placed his hand on Yibo's chest, his soul reaching for the void where a vibrant life had once been. And then, the ultimate, mind-blowing scene erupted. Yibo's body didn't just feel warm, it began to glow with a soft, benevolent light, a brilliant golden hue that pulsed in sync with Zhan's own heart. The glow intensified, flowing from the web of love into Yibo, fusing with his very essence. His eyes, once flat and empty, began to shimmer with an impossible, vibrant light, and a single perfect tear of pure light streamed down his face, leaving a trail of shimmering motes as it fell. The tear was not sorrow, it was a mind-blowing manifestation of his soul returning, a symbol of his echo syndrome reawakening, transformed and purified by Zhan's unwavering love. Yibo's lips parted, and a sound, a single perfect note, soft as a melody, filled the air. It wasn't a word, it was a pure melodic tone that resonated in Zhan's soul, speaking of gratitude, of love, of boundless joy. The profound, agonizing silence was gone, replaced by a new, more beautiful symphony. Yibo's echo syndrome had returned, not as the chaotic, overwhelming force it had been, but as a pure, harmonious channel for their love. His sacrifice was not the end, it was a devastating catalyst for a profound transformation. He did not get his old power back, he gained something new, a purer form of connection. Their love, born from chaos, was reborn from sacrifice, stronger and more beautiful than ever. The silence was not a final state but a temporary one, the prelude to a new, mind-blowing symphony of souls. Their love, once a secret, was now a legend, a testament to the fact that even a shattered universe could be rewoven more beautifully than before. The apartment, once a tomb of silence, now hummed with a different kind of energy. The single tear of pure light had streamed down Wang Yibo's face, a mind-blowing symbol of his soul's return. He was no longer a hollow shell, but a man reborn, his eyes filled with a new, profound serenity. Xiao Zhan, his own soul overflowing with relief, understood with a chilling certainty that the sacrifice had not been for nothing. It was not the end, but the devastating prelude to a new reality. Yibo's old echo syndrome, the chaotic, overwhelming force, was gone. In its place was something purer, more refined, born of their shared trauma and Zhan's unwavering love. The first mind-blowing manifestation of this new reality was the Symphony of Souls. Yibo discovered that he could now tune people, using his refined echo syndrome to correct emotional discord. They began hosting private, silent sessions at the restored opera house, a place that now thrummed with their benevolent energy. When a person, burdened with grief or anxiety, came to them, Yibo would gently place a hand on their chest. He would not feel their emotions as a torrent of chaos, but as a discordant, broken melody that only he and Zhan could hear. Then, with a quiet act of will, he would transform that melody into a beautiful, harmonious song. To the person, it was a sudden, profound sense of peace. To Zhan and Yibo, it was a mind-blowing, auditory symphony of a soul finding its rhythm again. The opera house, once a place of performance, was now a sanctuary of harmonic healing, their love a silent, benevolent orchestra. Their private reality was also forever changed. Their love language, once a beautiful mix of words and silent gestures, was now a living, tangible thing. They discovered that Zhan's empathy, honed by his desperate need to reach Yibo, could now manifest his feelings as shimmering, solid objects. When he felt a surge of reassurance, a warm, glowing orb would appear in his hands, which Yibo could see and hold. A pang of regret would become a soft, crystalline snowflake that vanished in his palm. A profound surge of love would transform into an impossible flower, its petals made of iridescent light, a mind-blowing creation that no one else could see. This was their new, silent communion, a profoundly beautiful, private reality that transcended words. The scar of sacrifice had given them a new, higher form of love. The final, mind-blowing act was not about them, but about the world they had changed. The malicious entities were gone, and the world's emotional landscape, while no longer connected by their network, was more transparent due to the lingering echoes of truth. But something was missing. The world was honest, but it was not harmonious. It was time to return the gift they had sacrificed. They stood on the stage of the opera house, a single, glowing spotlight on them. With the entire world watching through the harmonized network, they channeled their combined love, but instead of forcing a connection, they invited it. They projected an image of a single, brilliant thread of light, an invitation to a new kind of network. As they did, billions of people across the globe, touched by their healing, began to resonate. The old network had been built on Yibo's raw power. The new one would be built on the collective harmony they had created. One by one, faint, shimmering threads of light began to emerge from the screen of a billion devices, from the windows of quiet homes, from the bustling streets of cities. They were not Yibo's echoes, but a collective response, a conscious offering of peace and gratitude from a healed humanity. The threads surged towards the opera house, weaving themselves into a magnificent, pulsating grid of pure, benevolent energy that enveloped the entire planet. This was the return of the global network, but it was stronger, more resilient, and more beautiful than before. It was a mind-blowing infrastructure of shared harmony, a testament to the fact that love, even after sacrifice, can rebuild a world, one healed heart at a time.